people
Why
in.
do you think the Whatever podcast gets so many views?
Okay, I don't care about views, I care about votes.
Before I really
kinda what
got
I was
into
getting
YouTube
into.
politics, I used to see those clips of Ben Shapiro, and I'm like, damn, like everybody's stupid. I'm like, Ben Shapiro, like, so he is so smart. And then once I saw past the clips, I'm like, this motherfucker don't know what he's talking about. Like, so it's like nobody cares about that. They just didn't hear this specific quote, and that's not even. It's not fair. I don't. And Wick, I love you, but I'm like, why are you not acknowledging the fact that he actually said that?
Because it's not about what's fair, it's about what's effective. I don't
This
care
is
what's
specifically
fair.
what
He
he
did
with
what
this rhetoric.
he did what
I
you're
am
asking
ruthlessly-
him to do,
ruthlessly
and you're ignoring
determined to
it.
be
That's what I mean by fair. You did what
Maybe
you
it
said.
depends. Like,
These are our wonderful panelists. Say hi, wonderful panelists.
Hi,
So,
wonderful
Hi.
panelists.
Hi, wonderful panelists.
We've got a couple of Dropout fans in there. For our panelists tonight, and for the people who are watching, this is the 4th show in this series. Tonight, we actually have primarily left-leaning panelists, and that is by design, so that we can debate and discuss how to better operate as a political movement. Again, I also have a new official website where you can support my work, so please visit RileyGraceProshong.com to check out cool merch and to consider making a generous donation. With that, let's get into it. Here are the rules for tonight. Number 1. If I'm talking, stop talking. I don't want to participate, so if I get involved, it's either to stimulate conversation or to get things back on track. Number 2, at least be respectful of me. You can hate on each other, but I'm putting in a lot of work to make this happen, so don't make my life harder than necessary. And number 3, stay on topic. Related tangents are fine, but don't dig up any unrelated personal drama. And that's it. With that, let's go around and have our panelists briefly introduce themselves. So I'll go one by one through people. And we'll go ahead and start with Politiscape. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Politiscape, or you can call me Josh, left-leaning YouTuber that started about, a little over a year and a half ago. Happy to be here.
Great, thank you. Up next, She's Right. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm She's Right. You can support me at she'srightshow.com. I love democracy. I don't like violence, and I want a country I can be proud of.
Wonderful, wonderful. Next, we have there is a panelist who will be coming a little bit late. She did message me earlier, so we'll have her do an introduction later on. Next, we've got Wick. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I guess so. Wick from Wick TV. You see me around. You know who I am.
Cool. Next, we've got Logix. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, what's up? I'm a liberal content creator, Logix. I do a lot of political conversation, social commentary, and debunking.
Cool. Next up, we got Ethan. Would you like to introduce yourself?
howdy. I'm Ethan. I'm a liberal content creator, and I try to have a focus on masculinity. I think the left has a really bad, I'll say, lack of masculinity, and I think that sort of aesthetic is very much needed. But I'm entering the debate space, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for joining us. Next, we have got Corbin. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Howdy, yeah, I'm Corbin Sales. You can find me on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram by the same name. I do center-left political coverage and debates, and I started a few months ago, and yeah, here I am.
Awesome. And last, we have Bex at On the Line. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Rebecca. A little bit about me. I am a Marine Corps veteran, a mom, a trans woman, and a center-left liberal. My day job is technology, but I am super passionate about politics, so I'm trying to dip my toes into the world of political writing, commentary, debate, and content creation. And you can find me at unaligned.sh. So yeah, great to be here. Looking forward to talking with everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. And with that, the topic for today is whether we should respond to Republicans with inflammatory rhetoric, especially in regards to events such as Charlie Kirk's assassination and recent examples of inflammatory rhetoric, such as what was used recently by Destiny. Also, I do apologize. I wasn't able to get him on the panel. I did reach out to see if he wanted to join, but I just didn't get a response back. So that's why he is not with us tonight. Per my request in the Discord server, I'm going to begin with the people who reached out to me beforehand to request opening statements, and then I will ask if anyone else would like to make one before we launch into the main discussion. So first, She's Right. Would you like to give an opening?
Sure. I believe we're all in agreement on the general problem here. We want the violence to stop. Then we have to get practical about the actual causes of violence and the actual solutions of violence. If anyone thinks the most relevant or clear or causal factor here is the rhetoric of the left, that is a fundamentally irrational and unproven position. We're seeing far more people criticize jokes about Charlie Kirk after the fact, but we are not seeing any evidence, despite a whole FBI investigation, tying any leftist rhetoric or ideas to the cause.
Great, thank you. Up next, we have Ethan. Would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, thank you. So I believe going exactly tit for tat is not the correct move. To win, we have to appeal to centrists who are willing to be swayed by our messaging. And the success of a political party is going to be dictated by three parts: the contents of their message, the method of distribution of that message, and the aesthetics of that message. Conservatives, they seem to have mastered all three and have a baseline advantage in the message aesthetic. For example, a conservative arguing on George Floyd's murder. The content of that message is George Floyd was a violent criminal who had a fentanyl in his system and most likely died of an overdose. Violent convicts are bad. The left is rioting, supporting a violent convict. Therefore, the left is bad. The right streamlines this narrative, makes conspiracies, and calls it a day. But with George Floyd being a black convict, he's an outgroup or minority. Intuitively, the public is much more accepting of making fun of minority suffering, like alligator Alcatraz merch, immigration deportation, ASMR, George Floyd challenge when that was trending. These are inflammatory topics and are celebrated by conservatives. These topics haven't enraged the public anywhere near as Charlie Kirk's death and the celebration of that. This is the baseline advantage that conservatives have in their message aesthetic. That's what I'm talking about. They represent the in group. Since they have that advantage, the left has to be extremely careful in how we handle our messaging and the inflammatory parts of it. I would argue that the left's lack of inflammatory statements have made it look weak. Inflammatory statements gain a lot of traction. Look at the president, look at the Conservative Party. The most strategic move for the left is to use inflammatory statements on the most intuitive messages that we can get. For example, everyone clearly condemns Charlie Kirk's death, but why can't the right own up their own extremists? In a debate setting, this is a perfect example to set up either A, the right to disavow their own violence, or B, humiliate a bad faith conservative, which optically looks amazing. The best example being Destiny debating Owen Schroyer, when Owen Schroyer refused to accept that a Proud Boy had broken into January 6th. He wouldn't take that bet, and that made him look weak, and that makes the left look strong. That is why I believe we should use inflammatory rhetoric. We need to be very careful on how we do it. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ethan. And then lastly, as far as the people who reached out to me beforehand, Rebecca, would you like to make an opening statement?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So my general position is that most people probably agree on so much more than we think we do, but it's kind of a natural outcome of the attention economy and social media algorithms that were just incredibly polarized. And the I want to say the authoritarian right, they've had a big head start in crafting this really sophisticated disinformation network. And I mean, I think everyone here has seen the pattern. You know, there's like a damaging story comes in, the Epstein stuff with Donald Trump for a day or two. There's kind of, you know, this I don't know, disorder among the MAGA side, and then just out of nowhere, everything just kind of snaps into place, right? And everyone has the same talking points, you know, from the podcasters to the guys on Fox News to, you know, shit posting Twitter accounts to even, you know, meme accounts on Facebook or whatever that are, you know, kind of distilling these things down into bite-sized little slants for the audiences there. And they just have a really, really good lead in this front. And I think that that is somewhere that the left could really benefit from organizing to do. Right now, I feel like the left is just very disjointed. I'm sure a lot of people feel somewhat similarly. It's hard to get us all to kind of coalesce and agree on, on you know, on a strategy. So I think that would be important. Obviously, that requires organization, that requires funding, but I think that that is one way forward to kind of winning this information war that we've been neglecting to fight for the past decade of Donald Trump.
All right, thank you. Now, those are all the people who reached out to me beforehand who requested to make an opening statement. I'm fine turning it over, but is there anyone who like really pressingly like I got to make an opening statement right now. Is there anyone else who would like to, or I could just turn it over to y'all? I'm not
Let's open
seeing
up the
anybody.
pit. Let's open up the pit. Let's go.
All right. It is open to the panel. Y'all can take it wherever you would
Sure.
like to.
Can I just to get like a temperature check here? Does anyone think that Destiny's rhetoric around the Charlie Kirk assassination is an effective form of attack here? Can we get a
Did you say
I would say so.
effective?
an
Yeah.
effective or an
Ineffective.
effective? It working. It's
Effective.
working
Effective to what end?
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
actually winning elections.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a net positive.
So we got one thinking it's a net positive, and
I think it's electorally effective.
Is that your hand up or your thumb up? What's going on? I can't. Okay, so about 3, maybe 3.5, something like that. It's really
All
hard
right,
to
like a
tell.
split panel.
I'm gonna just
Real quick, are we saying like Destiny alone doing it, or like if the whole Democrat Party were to do it collectively?
Well, why do you think that only Destiny's doing it?
Great question.
And Newsom isn't doing it. You don't see AOC doing it. You don't see any of these other politicians who have whole teams behind them that study these things.
Because we would look
Why do you
absolutely
think it is the
unhinged.
only? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What did you say, sir?
Sorry. I said because we'd look unhinged. That's why
Yes.
they're not doing it.
Yes,
But Destiny's not running for office.
but he is used as a representative of the left. Look at his appearance on Piers Morgan. Look how Fox News pedestaled him. Look at how every single right-wing figure is pointing to his rhetoric and showcasing it and saying, this is what the left is saying. Why do you think they're doing that?
Yeah, but if it's not
They'd be
Destiny, if it's not Destiny, it's a blue-haired college student with 12 Twitter followers.
To be fair, though, like if it's a blue-haired like rando, we can say like, bro, that's a blue-haired rando. Like, who cares about this person?
Yeah, but the issue is that the right uses those blue-haired randos to condemn the entirety of the Democratic Party,
Do you
and
think
that's
that's
kind
as
of
effective as them using someone like Destiny, though?
It probably has a bit more weight when it's Destiny.
It's been that way.
That's true.
Let's attack the blue-haired college kids. Let's attack the trans people. Let's attack the random people that make a video making fun of somebody's death on the internet. It's like we keep seeing the same pattern, and I feel like this is a tactic that hasn't been used. And I know that a lot of people weren't even energized enough to go vote because they feel like Democrats have been weak. And I think he's that representation of people that's just not being weak for once, like not doing anything.
Yeah, I think because the right has such a stranglehold on the messaging ecosystem for our political system, it's such a tight, coherent message from top to bottom that we need something strong enough rhetorically that it can pierce through that bubble. And I think Destiny has done a decent job at that. I don't know if I would take it quite as far as he did in some spaces or in some ways, but I think it is an effective strategy in principle.
Can you point to, well, again, though, if you think that this is effective, why is it that, again, every single mainstream Democrat, every politician, every influencer, aside from Destiny, I should say, disagrees with you? What do you think? What do you think makes him correct when literally every single other influencer and politician on the left is wrong?
I don't think they're quite as rhetorical. Well, I don't think they're as rhetorically shameless as Destiny.
I know it's effective because it works, because we're talking about it, because it penetrated an otherwise safe space of a media bubble. This is the same reason the liberal media constantly successfully reports on Trump's message. And this is how propaganda spreads and how memetics work. Even if you don't agree with the message, if you hear it a lot, you're more likely to believe it. That's how Trump has made.
But just because we're talking about it doesn't mean that's necessarily working. I mean, we talked about like Trump's controversies for like ever.
It did work. He got him elected.
Right? Like
he's the president right now.
I think I might be. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, we're not MAGA either. We do not corral behind a single individual like the MAGA movement does. I don't think you can say just being inflammatory is going to get us there.
But
right?
Why?
Just like with us, what we're trying to replicate what Charlie Kirk did is certain strategies that work. It's not like, hey, let's just be dicks to everybody, necessarily. But if there's strategies that's working, I don't see why not implement them. Because, go ahead.
I mean, that's that Donald Trump won in 2016, and what was his strategy going into that first
To not
election.
be
It was
Hillary Clinton.
no,
Hillary Clinton was one of the worst candidates
to
we've seen.
pierce the
It was a very, very bad
establishment
idea to
bubble.
run her in the
Right.
2016
It was to
election.
pierce the bully establishment bubble, right? To take down the woke, hypocritical Democrats who control the narrative on everything, right? Well, now Republicans are the ones with the narrative control, so we need something equally as effective at piercing that bubble.
Here's a problem
Okay,
with
but
this.
what happens? What
ahead.
happens? Say our elected officials, they adopt Destiny's strategy. How do you think that plays out?
I don't think they should. I'm not advocating for the people running for office to behave like Destiny. I think they should behave like Gavin. I think Gavin's doing it perfectly correct for the position he's in. I think they should take a page out of his playbook, but not Destiny's. They have a different purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
believe.
Gavin Newsom's doing it good. I think Destiny's a bit more. It's just a more extreme version of Gavin Newsom, right? Because even though Gavin is bullying people right now, it's generating conversation, right?
It's not
Yeah,
just about
I agree with you guys. I think there's two separate things going on here. We've got the creator world, which taps into a certain type of people, a certain type of market. And then when you've got your elected officials, obviously, I think if they adopted Destiny's strategy, I mean, they would just look unhinged. I think it would be a losing strategy. I think
I
that's
don't know
all I
why
had
it
there.
would be a losing strategy when Donald Trump does it all the time and it's very successful for him. He looks fucking crazy. Have you
he
seen him on Truth
lost more
Social?
than
He
he's
looks
won.
literally
Like,
insane.
let's get rid of this myth
Well,
that it's working for Donald Trump. Look at his
How
poll numbers right now. People are running away from Donald Trump's messaging.
Because
It
his
doesn't matter.
Running
He won.
away from every single policy
mean,
that he has.
after two
He
He won
presidencies,
in 2024 simply because of the whole Biden bullshit where we kick someone out 3 months right before the election. That's the confounding variable here. So let's just get
well,
rid of
that's
this
certainly
myth
played
that it's
into it.
working for them. It's not.
Where
I
did they
don't
get the
disagree
He's
message
with
that Biden
severely
is bad?
underwater. He's
Hold on, we got a
severely
couple of
underwater
people.
on every single issue.
She's right, Bex, and then Anne, were you speaking? No. All right,
I
Bex,
think, I don't
she's
know.
right.
That Trump was clearly good enough to win. And you're saying, no, people just didn't like Hillary. People just didn't like Biden. Yeah, where are they getting those conclusions? Because it's not from data. It's from messaging. It's from news. It's from the whining they do constantly.
Yeah, like how many meme compilations did you see from like posted from like Matt Walsh or Michael Knowles or Alex Jones or Candace Owens, where they were making fun of Joe Biden's like stupid fucking agape mouth and stutter.
But remember, it isn't just that they made fun of Biden or that Biden may have been a bad candidate for 2024. It's that we ousted him 3 months. Talk about looking weak, right? Talking about looking weak as a party. To get rid of your incumbent 3 months before the election without even a primary or anything like that, that made us look terribly, terribly weak. And it is one of the major reasons we lost that. Trump didn't win so much as the Democrats lost. And remember, the economy had a lot to do with it. Incumbents
Incumbent
around the globe
disadvantage.
lost in
Yeah.
2024. So again, this kind of childlike look at politics and recency bias of, oh, he won once, so it must work. Look,
He didn't
we
just
won
win
in
once.
Well, he
2018,
didn't win.
we won in
He won.
2020, we won in 2022, and we did it by being moderate.
I mean, let's
What
also
makes you
look at
believe
like
that it was
other.
being moderate that made us do the win? What?
Well, I'll give you one example. In 2022, one of the strategies that the DNC employed was during the Republican primaries, they promoted the more extreme candidate. So
Yeah,
the
the Pied
MAGA
Piper
guy
thing.
who is mouthing off the worst, the DNC funded their candidacy so that they would win the primary. And in the cases where they won the primary, in most of those cases, they lost the general election. The general electorate punishes this kind of behavior.
Wait, okay. When you say extreme candidate, doesn't seem like you're talking about rhetoric. It seems like maybe you're talking about positions wise. There's a difference between having extreme positions and extreme rhetoric.
It was both. It was both. Look at Carrie Lake, right? That's the one I can think of off the top of my head, right?
Which was it more due
Extreme
to?
rhetoric, extreme positions.
Which was it more
But
due
how do
to?
you know
You're not
the-
controlling your variables.
Sorry.
So can you say it one more time? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Which of those two was it due to? Because you're not controlling your variables anymore.
Certainly, it could have been both or either or one or the
Or
other,
either.
but there is no evidence, and I want to say this really clearly, zero evidence that extreme democratic messaging works or rhetoric works. There's none. There's zero
Well, what do you
evidence.
mean by extreme rhetoric? Like what's
The example we're using tonight is Destiny's rhetoric.
I don't
Oh,
think
I think Steven's
politicians
being a
should
lefty.
I
adopt
don't.
it.
Disavow Charlie Kirk murder until the president disavows it.
But he has. Like, I don't know why
He
people
has
keep
disavowed it,
saying
yeah.
this. I don't know why people keep
Because
saying
he keeps saying it on Piers Morgan.
Well, yeah, that's what he keeps on saying when he's in front of other
it.
conservatives, maybe in a panel and things like that. But I think haven't we all agreed that our elected politicians shouldn't take the same strategy that somebody like Destiny? Are we all in agreement there?
Yeah.
I want to
I
hear
don't.
more discussion on that, actually. Yeah.
I don't. I
Yeah,
think.
look, I
Like I
think
said,
what's
I think.
happening right now is
Go ahead,
sorry,
go ahead,
Logic, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like I said, I think that politicians should adopt what Destiny's been doing. Like, we're not gonna act like Trump wins when he wins off of policy. I think objectively, policy on the left is better than the right. And we don't have the rhetoric that Trump had to win. Now, I'm not saying let's be complete douchebags like them, but we need to give them a taste of their own medicine. And even people on their side is seeing it now, with especially with this whole ABC thing, that these people are hypocritical and don't stand for anything. Like, they're tearing themselves apart right now. And I think that I don't mind punching them while they're down, because it has to happen.
But well, okay,
I think
maybe it'll be helpful to understand what you guys mean by inflammatory rhetoric, because I don't think that there's anything wrong. I don't think it's necessarily inflammatory rhetoric to call out their bullshit, right? I think it's perfectly fine to call out the FCC and their authoritarian uh, coercion, their mafioso kind of tactics to get Kimmel fired. I don't think that's inflammatory, but I do think that stuff like celebrating Kirk's murder, or stuff like what Destiny was saying on Piers Morgan and in my show and in other shows and other venues is inflammatory.
But
No, I
this is
agree.
this.
I
So
would say,
I
like,
think what the play is being inflammatory about the right thing. So, for example, I think that celebrating Charlie Kirk's death is something that is optical suicide, essentially. But in relation to like Charlie Kirk in like his debate style, he was very inflammatory. Liberal owned compilation. 568. This is so inflammatory. It's humiliating to
Yeah,
these people. It
racist
makes the left look
thumbnails.
so
Like,
bad. Yeah, right. And the thing is, it was inflammatory to the right audience. They knew how to cater to that. Now, clearly, inflammatory things gain traction, it gains attention. It's just a matter of doing it on the right message. That's what I would argue.
And I think the right audience matters too, because I mean, Destiny going on a big show like Piers Morgan, where a more normal and maybe not so politically engaged viewer might be watching, and they see this guy on the left like, oh no, I'm not going to disavow the murder. And it's like, if you're plugged into politics, if you know who Destiny is, you're like, okay, yeah, I understand what his position is, and I understand why he's not outwardly saying what they want him to say. But when you're addressing normal people who are either apolitical or maybe just slightly political, just disengaged, who don't really care about politics, but all they care about is how is my life being affected by who's president right now. Biden was in office and people, the economy sucked. I don't think that it was Biden's fault. I mean, he was kind of dealt a shitty hand with COVID, and he did the best he could. I think that his policies ended up being actually really great in getting us out of a potential bad recession. But um I think I tend to agree with Wick when you said that uh, those kinds of factors drove a lot of people to vote for Trump this time, or just sit the election out. A lot of people. I think that since we are so plugged into politics, we're kind of living it every day. It's easy to forget the normal people who are just super disengaged. Like, I don't know about your Facebook friends from back home, but everyone just kind of tries to ignore all the crazy shit that's happening right now. And you talk to people and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to get into politics." So yeah, I think when you address the disengaged or apolitical, you need a bit of a softer touch. When you're talking to these like provocateurs and propagandists like the Matt Walshes or any of those people, then yeah, I think inflammatory rhetoric against them is is good because their audience is already primed
Call them slurs.
to
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
No,
I
you
don't
should.
even think
I'm
that
not
I
Yeah.
kidding.
So
I'm not kidding.
Don't do
You
it on
need
here.
max
Don't
their
get me.
energy.
Don't get me
That's
taking that for
fine.
TOS. Please.
Nah, that's
Yes,
fine, right?
yeah,
But
so I would agree with
yeah.
what Beck was saying, that there, like I said, we do need diplomacy, we do need civility from our leaders, because the right wing isn't the only base that we're messaging to. It's also the moderates and our own base, right? So it's probably not good if Gavin Newsom came out and said, I'm not going to condemn the murder of this political activist until the president does. That would be bad. But I think we still we need to more aggressively, I think, like memishly bully the right into good behavior, because obviously being diplomatic isn't good
when
enough.
has that worked?
I don't even think it's about
Bullying
bullying
the
the right
right?
into being good. Like, you're not going to get good behavior from the right. These people are literally degenerates. Like, there is no morals on the
Yeah, I
right.
know,
I
but
want that to be extremely clear. So, like, what you should be trying to do is make the left look cool again. Like, it's so fucking lame to be a blue-haired liberal these days. Like, nobody wants that. Like, it's so
That's
like that's why you have the whole persona of the crazy liberal with blue hair who's just screaming and yelling. Like, this is why Destiny looks that way. And I don't care too much about his rhetoric. I care about what our politicians are pushing. And right now, what they need to be pushing is, this is the policy we want to promote. This is how evil and fucking sadistic Donald Trump is. And this is how much money he's taking from you and hurting you in the end. And focus on that. And that's fine. Whatever rhetoric they have to do to get that across, if it needs to be scare tactics, propaganda, I don't give a shit at this
no,
point. Like,
but because I feel like the left has been so rhetorically cucked, like the last 5 to 10 years, that the right has been able to bully, push further and further and further, not just rhetorically, but policy wise as well.
The
And
last 5
it's
to 10
because there
years,
doesn't seem to
we
have.
have won more elections than we have lost. I want to be clear about that.
okay.
yeah, but they.
In the
So,
I
last
think he's
five to
still
ten
saying
years,
which
that
lost.
they control the media, right? Is
Yeah.
kind of what you're
To an
trying to
Yeah,
extent,
say,
like,
and pushing.
to an extent, but
like,
this
because we
often will
need.
drive people away. Look at the polling that just got released today from what was it polling? Atlas Intel, an A+ poller released polling today about the midterms coming up in 2026. 51% to 43% in the Democrats' favor. That's almost a 10-point. It's an 8.3 lead in the Democrats' favor, and they overpolled Republicans in this poll. Look, all we got to do, and I want to stress this real clear, all we got to do to win the midterms, which should be goal number 1, is be fucking normal. That's
Yeah, but
all.
You don't think you
Be
we can't
fucking
just wait for
normal.
MAGA to lose. We have to actually force change,
not
because when Donald Trump is out of office, right? It's like the Republican Party has been so fundamentally changed that even when he leaves, I don't know what's left afterward.
and not only that,
It's
Logic's
we
not
turning.
know
going to
that
be much.
we know that that
But
polling is
we're
because
in a
of how bad Trump's policy
system.
has been. It has nothing to do with rhetoric. Like when you keep saying we won,
Yes,
it's
it
because Trump is such a fuck up, and just people, I don't know, forget, and they like, oh, I want something different. Well, let's just go with this guy again for whatever reason. It's not because
Yeah.
of rhetoric or
I
us not being
disagree.
inflammatory.
The logics, and I'll tell you why I disagree. Because people are seeing every day these Trump patsies, if you will, right? They see what Carr says on Benny Johnson, plagiarist extraordinaire, right? Benny
But
Johnson, who
that's
can't do his own
policy,
fucking
right?
work, right? They see libs of TikTok, they see Matt Walsh's, they see these Tim Pools, right? And they don't like it. It's turning them off. This Charlie Kirk thing, where a lot of them are trying to make mourning him mandatory, it's actually honestly kind of working in the left's favor because they're so heavy-handed about it, right? So I think that a lot of this rhetoric is turning them off.
Yeah,
You just name people with like 1 million plus followings on like YouTube and stuff like that. When you say it's turning them off, I don't know who. All those people you just named, don't they have like at least 1 million subs? Like they have.
Yeah, from like fucking Russia, China, right? Un-American,
Maybe
like
I haven't looked at what they views match. To be fair, I don't know if the views match it, but
wait,
they have a huge following.
whose?
yeah, we can't
I mean,
we
who?
can't take a passive back seat to the right's failure, right? Like we have to kick I don't know who said we should kick them when they're down, but we absolutely should kick them when they're down, right? Because we have to establish something beyond MAGA. We have to help the Republican Party realize, hey, you guys are fucking retarded, and
yes,
here is the immediate consequences
yes,
for it. You need fucking change on your side.
but no, I 100% agree that we need to put a very large magnifying glass of focus on what the right is doing and how they are fucking up. But it's an unforced error when people like Destiny take away from that and instead make it into the news cycle where now everyone's talking about the gross shit Destiny said instead of what the bullshit that the right is saying. It distracts, and it's
I don't know if
we have won no one over. Destiny has won no one over with his comments on Pierce Morgan.
You think that's
I
really
don't
true? You
know.
think it's
Good.
zero
I mean, he's
people?
getting a lot of support. I'm not gonna lie.
because
From people who
So Piers Morgan was the
The-
loss, I would
I
say.
feel like the equivalent
Probably.
right now to
Anything.
Destiny. I feel like the equivalent right now to Destiny is Jimmy Kimmel. The right threw such a fucking hissy fit over Jimmy Kimmel's statements, which were pretty innocuous, all things considered. I was actually surprised. He had other comments just beyond the ones that stirred controversy. He unequivocally condemned political violence on both sides. I was actually surprised that
Yep.
he was explicitly calling out people on the left who were celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. But the right fucking bullied the fuck out of him anyway. They if you can go watch Benny Johnson talking with Brendan Carr about how he's saying that Charlie Kirk deserved to die. So
She's right. I know that
the
you had
left-
your hand up for a second. Real quick, Corbin.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Corbin, Corbin can go.
I was gonna say, like, they do it any. I don't know if Destiny's taking away from that because, like I said, if it's not Destiny that's getting dragged through the mud by the Republican Party, it's a no follower, blue haired, like
these
land whale with
these
a
are different.
ear
They're
piercing. Like,
They're
Yeah.
different in two aspects. The first aspect is that Destiny's a much larger figure, so it makes much more sense, and people believe people more when they say Destiny is representative of the left. And second, it makes Destiny less effective. More people are just turned off because they know he said these things. And
Jimmy
if he
Kimmel
had
is
not
a
said these things, he would
huge.
be a more effective figure than he is. And I'm not saying he's
What's the reach
ineffective
of Jimmy
at all.
Kimmel?
He's just less effective than he could have been. But I'm talking too much. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, Dwick, you are not at all questioning what you consider to be normal and the ways in which that is shaped by the media and the worldview you consume based on what you're exposed to. He made apologies for Biden's handling of the economy and ignored the fact that it was one of the best economic recoveries in history from the pandemic, lauded by economists around the world. But you've given into a propagandistic narrative of what's normal and good enough, produced by the right. And you've not challenged that at all. Even here, you're like, oh, Disney should be accountable because he's a bigger figure. But you're not talking about the president of the United States, whose magnitude's bigger. You're parroting talking points without questioning what those narratives are and are setting unfair terms of what is normal.
So
Normal
did the
is a
right
socially constructed
narrative
thing yours for the
get
taking.
every single incumbency except for maybe India in the world getting fired from their jobs basically and unelected, right? Their opposition got elected. Is it the right's narrative that did that, or is it the fact that whether or not we had the best recovery doesn't matter. The economy still wasn't as good as people wanted, and so they punished us
So
with that.
Right. That
beyond
concept
just
for what is good enough or what people wanted is that expectation of normalcy, which you're letting the right shape for you.
I'm not letting the right shape for me. What I'm doing is saying we need stronger messaging to make sure that we're not talking about the bullshit that one of our unhinged influencers says, and instead we're talking about the bullshit that Trump is doing right now in office, how he's using the FCC basically as a loaded gun against ABC and other broadcast networks for even criticizing him. This is what we should be talking about,
yeah.
but
You're
we for
right
us
now.
to do
Yeah, but-
so when they can play a clip of Destiny saying, I think right wingers should be afraid.
They should be.
First of
They
all,
should,
we
they
all,
should be fucking be afraid.
but how
Hold on,
much
hold
do
on.
we,
Totally
how much do
fucking
we know that
afraid.
they've taken people out of context
Yeah, I should-
intentionally, though?
Do you think that's
I'm
effective
afraid.
rhetoric?
I'm afraid.
saying-
Yes,
listen,
I think
but-
these
but
fucks
listen-
should be afraid to keep
Yes,
saying what they're saying.
And not only that,
I don't
wait,
think
think
it's
about it.
effective rhetoric for that.
If Destiny
Terrible
wasn't
line.
Destiny, he would. This is no shade to Brian Tyler Cohen because I like him, but he would just be like a Brian. And I'm not saying it's something wrong with what Brian does because I like his content and I like what he's doing. And he's more professional with his stuff, and he gets more exposure with the candidates and whatnot. But if Destiny wasn't doing this, people would think that we were still these weak people that's just like letting ourselves get run over all the time.
No,
Like if
Gavin
Destiny
Newsom. Does
wasn't
anyone
Destiny,
think Gavin Newsom's weak
and
right
the
now?
plus of it is that Destiny actually can argue what he feels. That's another thing too. It's not like he's just this random person is just screaming all the time. When he is unhinged, he can back up why he's unhinged. Even with the Piers Morgan thing, even if I take my bias off, when he was arguing with them, they couldn't answer anything he said, and it looked embarrassing. And I don't think
It
it's
didn't
just
look
me that
embarrassing
felt
because
that.
all they had to do was play his clip of him saying that that he's not going to condemn the violence. They don't have to play the rhetoric or the games around it. That line in and of itself was like a own goal. It was unnecessary and it did not help. We won 0 votes, and we lost how many? Who knows how many from that? It's just
Like, do you think
unnecessary. We don't need to. There are far better lines of attack that won't make us feel weak. It's just unnecessary. This is my frustration, and I know I'm talking a lot, and I apologize, right? I don't mean to suck up all the oxygen in the room. This is my frustration. You guys are like, and I'm going to be inflammatory here, so, you know, you guys are like NPCs, okay? You are responding, reacting to what MAGA says and does, and you're dancing on their puppet strings. They're basically controlling your emotions and what you do. Don't let them do that. Cut those strings.
You're the one reacting to the narrative on
we
Destiny that the right has set.
Yeah, Wick, we're in a two-party system. Rhetoric is a two-way street. We can't think about we can't just think about, okay, well, is rhetoric effective for our next election cycle? We have to think about it also in terms of how does it fucking fix our country? How does it help stir self-awareness in the other half of the country that's completely
Do you
moved
think
away
Destiny
from
is
any
stirring
American values?
self-awareness in the right now?
I
And
think
why
it's
are we even
he at
engaging with
least
it? It's not
pierced the
even
bubble.
I think
it's
a
not
more
even
interesting
honest
question.
rhetoric though. Sorry,
I
go
think
ahead.
a more interesting question is how effective, if you were to win a debate, right, using inflammatory rhetoric or not using inflammatory rhetoric, what overall looks better? I would argue that assuming you're not unhinged, but you still do use some form of inflammatory rhetoric such that the opponent looks humiliated, I would argue that is much stronger. It's one thing to end a debate by saying, okay, we politely disagree, especially if you're going against someone like a bad faith actor. But if you're going against a bad faith actor and you humiliate that person, that ultimately looks so much better. I think the best way to achieve that is through inflammatory rhetoric. I think what Destiny did, that was not the right use of inflammatory rhetoric, but I would not discredit the usage of inflammatory rhetoric just because of that situation.
I mean, you can even take clips from the tour stuff that you guys just had, Ethan. Like the guy who like came up and was being fucking psychotic and schizo and yelling at Steven about, "Oh, you fucked a dude, oh, you sucked a dick," blah, blah, blah. And everybody just bullied him. Republicans and all the MAGA people who showed up to debate Steven literally bullied the fuck out of this guy because it's embarrassing. We should be working on embarrassing the fuck out of these people.
I agree.
Yeah, I
Yes.
don't disagree with that, but let me give you the Destiny's rhetoric around not turning down the temperature is embarrassing us, like that guy's rhetoric embarrassed them.
But he's
Why
I
is
would
not
that?
like
agree
I would say
that
it's probably a
that.
net loss what
No, I don't
Destiny did.
think so.
Destiny
Look, there's
isn't
a difference
incessantly
between
screaming slurs and insulting people for the sake of insulting them, though. I don't think that's fair to compare the two.
What I think would be interesting, and this is the hard part because Democrats would never do this, but like in a hypothetical world, I think it actually would be effective if every single Democrat did come together and say, we will only do it if Donald Trump acknowledges the horrors, of things like January 6th. But the problem is, he'll never do that. But I think it would ultimately bring it to light. But how realistic is that? I don't think that is realistic.
Yeah,
Let's
I
try to
think
get
the
the left to
first
come
I
step
together.
think
is
it's
to
actually
have a
pretty
massive
realistic with the
enough
government
Republican
shutdown
network.
coming up. I think we should make it a condition of the government shutdown. I think
We
that was
could
a
do
really good
that.
idea. I don't remember where that came from.
Yeah, I heard that.
Destiny came. That was a good idea Destiny
Oh.
had. I'll give him props for that. But we don't need to fail to condemn the violence, right? Or make that a condition. We
Yeah,
can say,
maybe
hey, Trump, you haven't condemned the violence yet. Look at Mehdi Hassan. Mehdi Hassan had I think it was Fox News or maybe it was Sky News, one of those. He went on and he did it pitch perfect. I disagree with Mehdi Hassan on a lot of his foreign policy takes, but his rhetoric and his style, he was able to hold Trump to account and push on that narrative. And he was still able to disavow the violence, disavow to commit to turning down the temperature, all of that. And it was just far more effective. Look, I don't care about how I feel. I want to win. I will do whatever it takes within the bounds of morality to win. I don't care if
Wick,
I have
do
to
you
look like a cuck or whatever for a year or so. I don't care if
Yeah,
it
Medi
makes me win. I will do it to win.
Wait, can I tell you a secret? This whole stream, I've pulled up the CIA's sabotage field menu for the tactics they use to specifically slow down and derail the Axis powers in World War II. And what you're engaging in, the demands you're making, like a bingo card, are meeting like half of this shit.
For a war against the Nazis?
Yes, this is how the CIA found ways to sabotage the efficacy of any movement. And these are the tactics you are using now against liberal causes.
Name one. I don't know this.
Sure. Managers and supervisors demand written orders, misunderstand orders, ask endless questions, or engage in long correspondence about such orders. Quibble over them when you can.
Okay, I've not done that. I take issue with
You
your.
just said we have to denounce. We just have to we have to go out of our way to denounce this. Like that's what that is. Like you're demanding extra work and extra claims be made. You're adding to that pile of work that slows
pile
down
of work.
us moving on.
Second, I denounce the violence. Why hasn't
Yes,
Trump?
seconds add up. Why isn't Trump?
Okay,
That's a
I
good
don't.
question because that's demanding
not
something to
serious.
Trump, right? That's
That's
demanding written
not a
orders from Trump.
serious
That's effective.
criticism. Come on.
Are you
That is not
suggesting that all of
accurate.
our politicians should
Hold on.
not
Are
denounce
you
then?
honestly burdened by the need to say, "Hey, I denounce the violence. Why hasn't Trump?" Is that a burden to you?
But I just feel like he's done that, and it's
It's
not fair to keep
unnecessary. That's
bringing
the
up the
point.
peers thing as if he didn't denounce it. But it's specifically when he's in that type of setting where he's like, no, I mean, like I just saw a montage of him like denouncing political violence, and then even at the debates he just did in Colorado, he's constantly saying like this isn't okay and it shouldn't be happening. And it's just like I don't know if this has to be this specific quote that everybody wants for him to say, like I denounce Charlie Kirk's killing or whatever. But regardless, on Pierce, I don't know if it was just me. I felt like Pierce and them looked stupid. I do think it was a little cringe when Destiny was like, why hasn't Trump, when they flat out asked him, because he still ended up saying like, I don't think anybody should be doing political violence or whatnot. And then it's like, nobody cares about that. They just didn't hear this specific quote. And that's not even, it's not fair. And Wick, I love you, but I'm like, why are you not acknowledging the fact that he actually said that?
Because it's
Well,
not about
maybe-
what's fair. It's about what's effective. I don't
This
care
is
what
Why would
you
you
think
even
is fair.
engage
he
with
did
this
what,
rhetoric?
he did what
I
you're
am
asking
ruthlessly-
him to do,
ruthlessly
and you're
determined
ignoring
to
it.
be
That's what I mean by
effective.
fair. He
Maybe
did what you
it
said.
depends. Like maybe if you're in a room full of conservatives, don't condemn it, but condemn it otherwise, like to your base
No,
or to
condemn
No,
it.
I disagree with that. I think it
There's
should be
no-
condemned.
There's no value in not condemning it. There's no value. You gain nothing.
But
I agree.
my
Except
problem
looking
is
like
you're
a cuck,
saying
just
he
by the way.
didn't condemn it when he
You don't
did.
look like a
Losing
cuck by
control.
saying I disavow violence. Why hasn't Trump? You don't look like a
But
cuck.
that's-
I agree.
I just reject that.
I'm with Wick on this.
All
I
right,
feel
hold
like
on.
this
Quick
is something.
pause. Or sorry, go ahead, Ethan. Finish your statement.
Oh no, yeah, I feel like saying that, yeah, I disavow it, and why can't you? I think now it puts the ball in their court, and then you can point to that and say, look, now you're the unhinged ones. And again, you can do things like make a bet, like, hey, who was the first person
But-
that broke into the Capitol on January 6th?
I don't know
It's an
who's.
easy bet to win.
I don't know if it was Hutch or somebody. They was like, but even when you do it, they still. You see how Andrew treated
don't care.
Anna. Like it doesn't matter. I don't
Okay.
know why y'all like
Okay.
like getting rolled on. It's just like Destiny.
Anna
if Destiny
Kasparian
would have said that,
deserves
but
to
like,
be
yes, I
rolled on
condemn
because
it.
she's
They-
super ineffective.
You're right.
Rhetorically, for a whole host of other reasons.
No, you're right. You're
okay?
right. But what I'm
Right?
saying is,
Like,
if Destiny still would have said that, we're not gonna sit here and pretend like Piers and Andrew was not gonna lay into him even more.
but
And
it's not
again,
as
we keep saying
effective
he
when they
didn't condemn it,
do.
and he did.
Okay,
But
it's
that
like
wouldn't have been the message that came out of it. If he had denounced it, the conversation wouldn't have been about Destiny refusing to denounce political violence at that point, right? I mean, it would have been something else, but it wouldn't have been this unhinged kind of hill to die on. Because I mean, denouncing it is just table stakes. It's so easy. It's the easiest thing to just start with.
But how many times do we have to denounce it? Like he denounced it. Like
many
you could be like
times
condemn, and they don't give a shit. These are bad faith actors. Why would you?
Yes.
If somebody comes to you
He
and
did it the
says,
day it
"Look,
happened."
your argument, literally, your argument is that the sky is purple and that's why we should vote for Donald Trump." And if you're like, "That's not my fucking argument. What the hell? Why would you even engage with that person? They're clearly insane."
because there are other
you're
people
right.
Just
watching
crazy
that
people.
conversation
We've
You're
seen this
absolutely
right.
argument
judging.
play
The
out.
problem
Jimmy
also
Kimmel
with this,
unequivocally condemned the violence, and the right still fucking chewed him out
They
for
don't
it.
care.
again,
They got him
we're not
fired.
talking about the MAGA cultists. I don't think we're ever going to win a
Destiny
MAGA
was on a
cultist guy
panel
over.
with
I'm
MAGA
not looking to win
cultists.
the MAGA cultist guy over.
Mhm.
I'm looking to win the
60% of
audience
the-
over.
Well, that-
I'm
that's
looking
what-
to win
that's
the
what we're
moderates
talking
over.
about.
I'm looking not to look. The danger here isn't that I think that Destiny or people engaged in his rhetoric are going to make a lot of people go to the right. I don't think that's true. But I think it's going to make it harder for the normie, the uninformed, to see a difference between the right and the left. And I think we need to make sure that they can. My worry is that they're going to go a pox on both your houses and then stay home like they did in 2024. I don't want to see that happen.
So
They're
so
making you waste your time to please imaginary people because you will feel guilty and go through all that extra unnecessary work. They would
well, I
only
think
think the Democrats are violent in the first place because the Republicans are telling them that, and then you are echoing that, thinking you're
I don't.
helping them.
It's not unnecessary
Alice,
work. This
I think
framing is
I think
so
it is
wild
good
to me.
to.
I am saying I disavow the violence. Why hasn't Trump? That's not only is it not unnecessary work. It makes my argument more effective. It
I agree
makes
with
it more
Wick.
Okay,
powerful.
And
okay,
and
but
also
yes,
remember, we're
I
trying to
agree.
appeal to the centrists here, right? Because that's how we're going to win the elections. Like someone said earlier, the MAGA cultists, these people are a lost cause.
Wait a minute.
Right.
If we're, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I cut you off.
Okay, no,
Ethan. I'm
You're
sorry.
fine.
no, we can't just say that the MAGA cultists are a lost cause. That's like half of our country.
No,
I was
what
gonna
I
say,
was gonna
do
say
you know
was
how
wait. If we're talking
Well,
about
logic.
appealing to the center or the center people, is that the term you said? The
Yeah,
center.
centrists.
Do you really think what Destiny's doing is worse than the shit going on the right? If that's what if we're gonna compare
No.
the two,
No,
And yeah, if
the
it's worse or
right
not
is
isn't necessarily relevant.
right
It's a
is
question of
worse.
its effective.
But we
but
want to keep that distinction clear. We don't want to adopt the tactics of our enemies that
we're
fail
not.
them
Why
I don't
not?
think
Wait, but
he's
did you
done
okay.
because
anything
it fails them. These are
in the
failing
gauge of
tactics.
what the right
They
is
don't.
doing.
Okay, the only time we
They
lose
won the White
is
House. They
when
won the
moderates
Senate. They won
can't
the
tell the
House. What are
difference.
you talking about? An ineffective tactic. It worked.
It only worked because we kicked out our incumbent, who, for someone no one voted for in the primaries, and we had a global issue with inflation that every incumbency got punished for. To act like it worked, it didn't work in
If
2022,
that was
it
the
didn't work
only
in
reason that
2020, and it didn't work in 2018. Come on, get rid of your recency
We
bias and look at the bigger picture. Pull out your view to 100 yards
There's
instead
so
of just
many reasons that Kamala
focusing on a
lost that
tree.
it's so many
Yeah.
reasons on top of one another. And again, we only won all of those because Trump is a fuck up. That's why. It's not I don't think in this world, in this media world, us playing coy with everybody is just not gonna cut it. I don't see how like it's
We don't
like
have to play coy. We just have to keep from making unforced errors. That's all we
I have a
gotta do.
question. I
Well,
have a question I want to
Go
ask the
ahead.
panel. Corbin and you two wanted to say something. Go ahead if you want to finish your thoughts, and then I have a question for the panel on this.
Okay, I was just gonna say I don't. If Donald Trump had toned down the rhetoric all the way to zero, like he never uttered another mean nickname again, I don't know if I still don't know if he would have won back in 24. I don't know.
Okay, and you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. The majority of the Republican Party is MAGA. Do you realize that 70% of the Republican Party is MAGA? We're not trying to win those people over. We
Exactly.
need to make those people look fucking insane like they are. Because if we're trying to win centrists over, we need to go as hard as possible on those people and go, look, these are literally like people who should be locked in a fucking asylum. Why are we worried about them? Why are we worried about like not hurting their feelings or whatever? I don't think centrists give a fuck. I think if they look crazy, they look crazy.
So on this, all right.
Yeah,
Let me ask a quick clarifying question because basically, so take myself partially out of my role just to tell you kind of where I'm at because I'm of a split mind on this. I generally hear where Wick and others are coming from that it is relatively easy to be able to say we condemn the political violence and then be able to go on and say whatever you want to XYZ after that. That seems a relatively easy thing to do. I'm also thinking, because now as I've been recruiting for the panels, as a general rule, if you're trying to get platformed or trying to pierce the alt right or the far right media bubble, it is a lot easier to get onto those kind of shows or panels if you're willing to take the more inflammatory positions, right? Destiny is often able to get onto these kind of panels from my perspective because he's willing to take much more radical positions. Like they're not looking to recruit people who are going to say reasonable things. So I guess I'm curious, Wick, I know that you talked a lot about like, the utility of this kind of rhetoric. Well, what do you think, and what do others think of the utility of this kind of rhetoric? Because it gives you the opportunity, at the very least, to pierce that media bubble, whereas otherwise you might not be able to.
So I think that if you're all you care about is your personal bank account and your personal clout, then absolutely be as extreme as you can because that does work. It does give you attention. And gang, the algorithm does not differentiate between good attention and bad attention. It measures them the same, okay? You're going to get paid the same amount per click, per view, whether they hate you or whether they love you. It does not matter. But when it comes to winning elections, that is where the general electorate, again, consistently over time, right, as we've seen in election after election, tends to punish extremism. It just does.
Can I ask? Fuck.
So
I'm sorry. I don't want to. I don't want to participate. But then
No, it's fine.
I think this goes back to the really interesting discussion earlier of like the distinction between uh, influencers, people who operate exclusively online, and electeds, people who are running for office. Right?
Mhm.
Like, do you think that there could be a reasonable distinction there then? Because sure, Destiny might be catching a little bit of negative flack, but at the end of the day, he is going to keep going. Right? Other people who use
Yeah.
that kind of rhetoric are going to keep going. Right? He will not be affected. His bottom line will not be affected, more likely than
Well,
not.
he
I
did
think that
get
actually,
demonetized.
well, yeah, but I
So
think that he has gotten like more subscribers. Yeah, there is the argument that it could lead to demonetization. I could
but
even
I
that,
think
that's
he got
like,
that's
mass
beside the point.
reported.
I get what you're saying though, and I'll just answer really quickly if I
yeah,
can.
yeah.
I think that look, I think that Destiny, in general, is one of the best debaters we have. He's very, very rhetorically effective in a debate. He's very, very quick. He's very, very intelligent. He's well researched on these topics, and that's why I don't like it when he sabotages himself and sabotages his effectiveness. Because now there are even more people who will not listen to him, no matter what he says or how right he is, because he made this unnecessary inflammatory comment, and it just turns people off. They close their ears, and I
Not
don't
to
want to see
speak
that
on the
happen.
dead, but do
He
you think
made
that that
one of our
rhetoric worked for
tools
Charlie Kirk?
he
Yeah,
basically shot himself in the foot. He made one of our tools less effective, and he should face
What
condemnation
rhetoric
for
do you
that.
think was working for Charlie Kirk? Was
But
it
I
like
think it
peaceful,
depends on
we
the
should condemn
setting,
violence?
though.
Like, do you, I don't even know. Well, it was clearly working at the last Unfuck America tour stop because you had people who were like Republicans taking his side when there was like a crazy Republican shouting him down. But the problem is, okay, like what rhetoric do you think worked for Charlie Kirk? Do you
Charlie
think he
Kirk, it
got
wasn't
by
the
like
rhetoric, it was
saying,
the clips. You see when Charlie Kirk debated anyone but a
what do you
college
think the
student, he
clips are
lost.
composed of?
that's yeah. Like all of them are him being super inflammatory, humiliating these people, and that's extremely
Yeah.
effective.
And Destiny is particularly good at this. I think there's a good argument to be made that somebody like Destiny, I can take your point, Wick, that the right can hold him up and maybe it'll carry a little bit more weight just because he is a bigger influencer on our so-called side. But I also think Destiny does a really good job of piercing these different media circles, getting into different audiences than maybe somebody like Gavin Newsom or name your other politician. He's good at breaking into these circles and bringing people over because he uses similar or more inflammatory
So
rhetoric.
Well, do you
to
think
kind
the
of build
same
off of what
do you think the rhetoric of Charlie Kirk making fun of some college kid for being for having bad rhetoric or just making fun of them in general? Do you think that's the same type of thing as refusing to condemn political violence right after a political assassination? Do you
No,
think
but
that's
I
the
think
he
that if
same?
you
did condemn it.
look at all of the rhetoric that they did about Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi and the Hoffmans and the Hortmans and all those other things, and Next Benedict, they made fun of a 12-year-old who fucking killed themselves. Yes, that rhetoric
When
works.
was
It
the
demonizes
Paul
trans people.
Pelosi?
It's all
Remind
sorts of
me.
things. Oh fuck, I don't even
What
remember.
was it? 21? I forget.
I don't remember. It was a few years ago.
But what
Let me
was the
look.
setting of all this drama? I mean, what are we talking about? This was Twitter, or was it in the mainstream? Because I feel like the general public that's not super political probably didn't see this crazy stuff about, the Paul Pelosi, which I mean, disgusting, obviously. And you asked about
Okay.
how that rhetoric worked for Charlie Kirk. There's nothing wrong with inflammatory rhetoric, but I think it depends on the setting, right? You need the right message in the right setting at the right time. And someone brought up Mehdi Hassan earlier. Mehdi Hassan
Yes.
is so good at delivering the right message in the right place. So I mean, when you're on Pierce Morgan, maybe try to be a little less unhinged. Still, you can still be inflammatory, but I feel like you need to be strategic in how you use that inflammatory language.
But nobody
So
cares how
I
inflammatory Andrew Wilson is when he goes on Pierce Morgan. Nobody cares about Jay Dyer going on Pierce Morgan. Like nobody cares
Jay
about their
Dyer and
inflammatory
Andrew Wilson
rhetoric.
are net negatives for their party. They turn people off from the right more than they bring people
Why
in.
do you think the whatever podcast gets so many fucking views?
Okay, where I don't care about views, I care about votes.
They
The
They're not the
energized people to
same.
influence the
vote.
They're
votes.
We
not the
literally
same.
didn't have
Stop
people
we're having
energized to
them.
vote.
we're having two different discussions in this debate right now. We can have a discussion on how we one pierce the Republican bubble and two how we do well electorally. I think rhetorically speaking, it's good for the Democrats, especially the leadership, to condemn political violence because it signals to our own base, and then it also signals to normies and moderates. But when we're talking about piercing that Republican bubble, that very terminally online, like weird Donald Trump, like alternative media sphere ecosystem, I think piercing into that apparatus has to be where we apply pressure and apply inflammatory rhetoric.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, my
Yeah,
in-laws, as an
that's what
example. Oh, go ahead.
so yeah, I think
Bully him.
I think
talk over
that's
him.
what I like about what Destiny's been doing. Again, some of it I don't know if I would quite take as far as him, but when he's on a conservative panel with a bunch of MAGA apologists like Piers Morgan or Andrew Wilson or Anna Kasparian or Jack Pacific, when he's on a panel in front of those people, and those are the same people who are supporting a guy who pardoned 1,400 insurrectionists, I think it's okay in that situation to go, no, I'm not condemning the political violence until you fuckers hold up a mirror to yourselves.
People, as soon as you say, I'm not condemning political violence, no one hears what you say after. No one.
I don't think that's
hold on.
necessarily true for like these young men who swung towards Trump in the 2024 election. Do you? Do you think they give a shit?
Why do you think that they swung towards 2024 to Trump?
Because they
Why?
made the right look cool.
Because of Charlie Kirk and because they had the cool vibes going on through TPUSA and other
because a
other
lot
things
of
like
them were
that.
convinced. A lot of them were convinced that the left didn't give a shit about them. Okay,
Yes,
and they were convinced through the right-wing media apparatus. The right-wing media apparatus is very effective. I won't lie, and I won't tell you that that's not true. But the question is, why is it effective? It's because it has multi-millions of dollars pumped into it, not just from domestic sources, but outside sources. It has bot farms from Russia and China, and it is flooding the zone, right? They are simply louder
agree.
than us.
Yes.
Yeah, but Destiny
And
doing
when
what
we
he
try
is
to make a
doing
similar
is kind
apparatus,
of trying to meet
when
that
we try to
moment,
make a
right?
similar apparatus, the people from our left
He has
decide
broke
to
into the
fire
zone.
The people, yeah, the crazy lefties, they attack it. Yeah, I understand.
This
I'm
is a
with you there.
problem.
That's stupid.
Okay.
But don't you think Destiny is appealing to some of those young men who did swing, who maybe don't give a shit about
Yeah,
you condemning
that
political
I think that
violence?
Destiny overall is one. I said this before, is a very effective debater, a very effective rhetorician, except for when he engages in these bullshit, self-sabotaging comments, not just to the one that made about Charlie Kirk, but about those kids drowning in the flood and
Oh
about
no, that
the
was
first Trump
hilarious though.
assassination. Right? I know people personally who would watch Destiny, who were going towards Destiny's side, but as soon as he had that conversation with me about Trump's first assassination, they won't ever listen to him again. It doesn't matter what he
I don't
says
even
or how
think
effective he
I don't
is.
even think that that's true. The people who weren't going to listen to him weren't going to listen to him in the first
I was
place.
about to say,
That's
and
a
do you
mistake.
think that
Any clip that my mom is going to show me on Facebook is not going to be political pundits condemning violence. She's not going to be like, "Wow, look at Matt Walsh here on Facebook. He's condemning political violence. Oh my God, what a great guy." She's going to show me the video of Matt Walsh making fun of trans people. She's going to show me the video of Matt Walsh making fun of Nancy and Paul Pelosi. It's never going to be him condemning political violence because they don't care about that, or else they wouldn't have voted for the person who didn't condemn political
it's
violence,
not
like Donald
enough to
Trump.
condemn. It's not enough to condemn political violence for the right. You have to completely and wholly agree with them, and then kill yourself afterward just because you voted for a Democrat to begin with, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
there is no reason to be diplomatic with Republicans.
I disagree. I think like
Just isn't.
Mehdi Hassan's done an incredible job of like disavowing it, but then still moving on to point out the hypocrisies on the right. I love Mehdi Hassan's take on it, and also he does it in such a almost surgical way. I think that should honestly be the example that the left takes moving forward. Still disavowing it, but then putting it back on the right.
Yes, we don't
no,
have
I agree
to.
that Mehdi Hassan is doing a super good job. But do you think he's hitting the same demographics, the same groups, the same circles that Destiny is? I highly doubt it.
Mehdi is
I think he
penetrating
probably would get a lot more
audience
centrists
than Destiny. I think that they're both two sides of the same coin. Like, Mehdi is attracting the people that want to be informed and don't want to see somebody screaming. But he's a great debater, just like Destiny. But Destiny is gonna draw, like, I know Mercedes is like the cliche example, but you see she's somebody that left the right because of Destiny. So I don't think it would be impossible to get
Medi
somebody that's
is
left leaning but felt like we were weak to come to this side because of Destiny as well.
the demographics that Medi is hitting are the ones that vote more often. Okay,
Okay,
it's
well
a much more
let him get
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
people, and they're not
That's-
gonna.
hold
Okay,
on,
if that's
can I
the
just
case,
get a
they're not gonna
temperature
not
check?
vote
Just a
because of
temperature check.
Destiny.
Who,
This
if
could be a
between
multi-pronged
in this
approach.
instance with Charlie Kirk, in this instance with Charlie Kirk, who do you think, if you had to pick one, whose messaging has been more effective overall, Mehdi Hassan or Destiny?
I don't
I
think
think
Mehdi
that
has
for
gone
me, it's
viral as
Mehdi
much.
Hassan 100%.
I don't
I can
know. I
agree
don't
that
know about
Medi has
that.
probably been more effective, but
Let's
it
do the
has
more
to do
effective
with,
thing. That's it. That's it.
well, come on. We can have a multi-pronged approach, right, Wick? I mean, we've got to have
Not
different
Either
people
A,
reach
you're a net
every
positive, or B, you're a net
facet of
negative.
that.
And I feel like
corners
that
of the
comment was a net
internet.
negative.
Mehdi Hassan has been more effective.
One pause. All right, pause. I have a question for the panel. I guess like as a general question, so how do we define effectiveness?
Yeah, are
How
we
many
talking about
people
electoral
show up
votes?
to vote?
Optically, are people gonna side with you more? Like, I would say that, like, if you were to gain 1,000 votes, but then lose like 3,000 votes, right? Like this is net negative. That's how I would say what's effective or what's
But
not.
Destiny
Depends
isn't
on your
making
own.
somebody
Historically,
say,
I think
I'm
people are
gonna not
appealing to
vote.
the
I
moderate and the
don't
center.
see
I think
that.
we all already agree on that. I think
I
we're
agree
talking
with
about
that.
how do we
Logic's.
pierce the Republican
don't-
bubble. I think.
Yeah, like nobody's gonna hear Destiny and be like, "Wow, I can't vote for that side." It doesn't make sense. Like they're either gonna
they're
gonna
not
be
gonna
like,
vote
"Oh
for
well."
it anyway.
Hold on.
But
I
there
feel
might be a
most
step
of
closer
the-
to think that the left is unhinged, crazy, trans Tifa, like want to
Wow.
murder all
Well, you know
If
what
it's
they'll
that
say?
easy, you
in
weren't
their
gonna
mi-
vote
You know what they'll
anyway.
say? They'll say, "Man, Destiny isn't this lefty. They probably wouldn't even know his name, right? But this leftist crazy guy isn't going to disavow violence. Wow. And I don't care if both sides are the same. Might as well stay home. That's what they'll say.
You know they do that. Anyway. They
oh.
did that to Mehdi Hassan. Did you guys follow that Ilhan Omar getting censored shit?
The,
I'm not
I
familiar.
didn't follow it.
Wait, she's
I heard
getting
it failed.
censored?
Or they're trying to censure Ilhan
Yeah, didn't it
Omar, even though
fail?
she
Wow.
categorically condemned the
Disavowed.
violence. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
and
didn't it
what
fail?
was wrapped up in that was she went on to Mehdi Hassan's show, and people like End Wokeness and all these other like big conservative accounts are saying, "Oh, look at Mehdi Hassan and Ilhan Omar who are saying that Charlie Kirk deserved to die," even though they clipped like a 15-second they took it out of
Yeah, they're
context.
gonna clip it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how much
That-
you condemn it. It only
Yeah,
matters.
unless you're part of the MAGA
bluntly-
orthodoxy. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it
one
only
thing, but
matters
then
how
saying that you
bluntly
refuse to
you-
condemn political violence until the other side does it. Now, I agree though that like I think ideally that kind of rhetoric would work if all the Democrats came together. But saying that you refuse to condemn political violence, that I feel like that's too low on the bar.
Okay.
I feel like that doesn't pass.
I wouldn't advocate for saying that you
so
should.
mind blowing to me that you
I-
guys think you know better than literally every single Democratic politician. Literally every single one. Literally every single Democratic influencer aside from Destiny of his size, right? They are all doing it the Wick way. But I guess
they're-
that's
and they're
the
all-
most
their
edgy and
They're
double
all
personality.
down
still
because
getting
it's
blown.
numbers
None
up.
of them and they're all still getting blown the fuck out by the Republican Party.
Hold on. We're
right
projected
now.
to win in 2026
we're
doing it the
yeah.
Wick way.
No, yeah.
No,
Mm.
we're not.
And okay, so
we're not
we're
talking
projected
about
to win. You think Destiny is gonna make
we're
it
not talking
worse? I don't see
electorally, We're
that.
talking about how we pierce the Republican Party.
I
Yeah,
guess
we-
one
we
question
gotta
I want to
distinguish
ask.
I
between these
think
things.
electorally we all agree
Hold on.
on rhetoric.
There's a couple of people
So-
talking.
so
Okay,
kind of-
so Ethan and sorry, Politicate, both of you had questions and logics. Did you have
No,
something
no.
that you want to say? Okay, so Ethan, go ahead.
Thank you. So one thing I want to make sure that we, I guess we remain in scope is right now, are we talking about specifically Destiny's rhetoric on that? Or are we talking about inflammatory rhetoric in general? Because I would argue that his usage on that probably wasn't a good idea, but inflammatory rhetoric when used, in a proper way, like
Yeah, I
populism,
agree
it's
with
just
you.
a tool. It's very sure. Okay, so yeah, in that case then.
So like in inflammatory rhetoric, it depends on the inflammatory rhetoric, right? Like, it
Yeah.
depends. And it's really hard
Well,
to
and we
answer
also
that
keep on.
question because inflammatory rhetoric means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but we can use the reason I'm focusing on Destiny is because, well, RGR brought that up as an example, and it's a specific segment of rhetoric that we have seen so far, and we've seen it be used by Elon Musk and the other side, right? And the reason that they're platforming it and posting it and sharing it around is because they know it's going to hurt the Democrats. They know it. That's why they're doing it.
I still think we need to distinguish between. I feel like we keep on bleeding the lines between piercing different MAGA circles or conservative circles versus what we want our politicians to do. I feel like we keep on bouncing back and forth over that line.
Yeah, let's.
Well, the rhetoric for JD Vance is obviously working right now. And I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have seen the like charliesmurderers.com or .org or whatever the fuck the
Oh, dude,
website is called.
insane.
Like we
That's going
have
to backfire
official
on them so hard.
politicians. You think that's going to backfire on
Oh,
them?
yeah.
They're calling these people terrorists.
Yep.
You don't
and
think that rhetoric is effective?
do
I
you
think
Every
it's
time
gonna
we call
back.
something
I
a
do think
terrorist,
that's
it
gonna
Hold on, I
works.
wanna
See how it
address- I wanna
backfires on
address
them.
Anna
No,
real
it's
quick. I wanna
effective
address
for
Anna real quick
MAGA
if I can.
probably, but for the normies or
Yeah,
the
for the
centrists,
normies,
I
it's
think
gonna
it's going to
turn them off.
backfire
For the
for
Normies,
them.
MAGA are the
we
ones who
all
won the
agree that's
election.
bad.
Barely.
Ooh, barely. What was the
That's all it
response?
takes.
Barely won
MAGA
the
winning.
election. They won a plurality, but
They're 71%
Do you think
Yeah.
of
that the cancel culture of the left
party.
helped us when we engaged in that? Do you think
No,
that
but what
does
that
it have
made
to
us
do with
cancel
people
culture?
wanna vote for us?
No, of course
No,
not.
but
But
what does
the,
that
Of
have to
course
do with
not.
cancel culture?
So,
but
again,
Democrats,
when you
we
see
don't.
the right pick up this tool and start beating themselves in the head with it, I rejoice because
No, but every
Which
time
they
that you
are
get to
doing.
call somebody
them like it
every
worked
time that
out
you
for
get to
us.
call somebody a terrorist and there's no pushback against that, then that rhetoric becomes effective. Every time,
Hold on,
look at the
there's
BLM
tons
protests.
of
They got
pushback
to
against
call.
that.
They did that with the No Kings protest. They did that with BLM. They got to call those people terrorists, and so long as they could label immigrants and black people and women as terrorists, then they got
Who won
away
the
with it.
2020 election?
Well,
But what the fuck does this have to?
those
Oh my
protest
God.
movements keep
What
on
the fuck
growing.
does
Each
winning
and every
elections have to do
one.
with rhetoric? I don't know. It's the whole reason
We
we're
won
talking
because Trump
today.
fucked up. I keep saying that. Like, I don't know why you like acting like
It's just
that's
an
not what's
incumbency
happening.
bias.
In 20
Yeah,
Okay.
there's an incumbency disadvantage this past
okay, in
election.
Wait,
2020,
so are we
look,
talking
hold
about?
on. Trump was the incumbent in 2020, and the incumbent presidency has the advantage going into
Yes.
the
It
second
doesn't.
term. That's why most
That's historically and
incumbents
statistically not true.
win re-election.
Yeah, they do. They have the yes, they do. They've got the upper hand. Incumbents.
You have an
That's why we
incumbency
did.
But it's
disadvantage.
'cause
You
he
can look at
fucked
that
Incumbency,
up.
hold on, the
statistically and
incumbency
historically.
disadvantage comes in with midterms. So the midterm coming up, that's where the incumbency disadvantage comes in. But for getting re-election, the incumbency advantage is for the president.
Well,
That's
you
for
can look
sure.
Yeah,
at
it was
every
it
single.
was
Sorry.
Okay,
Go
now
ahead.
let's look at every single one. Bush, who won the next one? Bush. Obama, who won the next one? Obama. Clinton, who won
it's
the next
very
one?
rare for the
Clinton.
incumbent
Reagan,
not to
who won
do
the next
2
one?
terms.
Reagan, right? Like, let's look at it. Let's go.
You can see
One
the
thing I want
last
to
few
point out.
elections. I
But we
think
won on
politics has
COVID.
radically changed since the first Trump presidency. I don't think we're
I think
seeing
that's true
that
too.
same pattern right now. And we're not even seeing it just in the US. We're seeing this like globally. Like look at Germany, look at Europe.
Wild
I want to
swings
even
say
back
something.
and
Canada.
forth.
Imagine if Trump actually wasn't totally brain dead, right? Imagine if he was rhetorically, as savvy as he was in 2016, but also knew like at least somewhat good policy making, right? I feel like then he could have been almost unstoppable, but thankfully it's not the case. But yeah, the
Yeah,
use
he's
of
incompetent.
like he's just insanely stupid. So I think that logic's. I think for the most part, yeah, we probably won 2020 thanks to Trump being a total fuck up, honestly.
Well, yeah, COVID had a lot to do with that one,
So,
right?
It did,
But
Yeah.
obviously, yeah.
Who here thinks we're gonna win the midterms and probably 28?
Yeah.
well, if there's free
Well,
elections,
it's real.
right?
Okay, I won't
Yeah, yeah,
caveat
yeah.
28.
If it
That's
goes
too far
well.
away. But
I think
if
that's
Big
nothing
assumption.
Yeah,
changes,
so I think we're all in agreement
if nothing changes,
electorally.
2026, I think we got this.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah. I think we're all relatively in agreement electorally. What about like what I think is important to talk about is how do we save the other half of our country?
Yeah.
MAGA?
Yeah, like how do we
down.
Information exposure.
You
Yeah,
don't.
like
Well,
that's
MAGA's not half
How do
the
we do that
country,
though?
right?
How do we do that when they're blind? I think you're right, but like
yeah,
I don't know how we do
Everybody
that.
can't
I think
go.
it's important to
Rhetoric, they
pierce that
report on.
bubble right now while they're in power.
Do you know what the most effective persuasion technique is? It's to build a
Kindness.
relationship. It's contact theory. Are you familiar with contact theory? The
No
more
idea.
you hang
Yes.
around with someone, the more you engage in cooperative activities with them, right? The more likely they are to see you as one of them, the more likely they are to listen to you. What's the most effective and persuasive thing isn't debates online, though that's helpful and there's different reasons for that, right? But it's sitting down with your right-wing buddy and saying, "Hey, man, look, I know you voted for Trump. That was kind of dumb, but I love you, man. And look, I think we can get past the woke shit and we can go into X, Y, and Z. And I think this is why whatever candidate we happen to have in 28 is someone you should vote for, man. Look, Trump's
You know,
obviously
Wick,
not working, so you should vote for the Democrats this time, buddy." That's more effective than any
Has
kind of
that ever
debate
worked for you?
or anything.
so Wick,
Yeah,
Talking about true MAGA for
Shit,
that
like
because like
that's what I'm
as a
saying.
guy
Like
in
the
South
MAGA
Carolina, that
polls,
doesn't work. I've
that does
tried.
not work.
Wick, I think
I've
20
tried
years
Not
that,
for the
man.
MAGA cultist, at least. Yeah.
it's
Like
not
I
going to
think
You
work
know what I
100%
think
of
does
the
work
time, but
though?
it's the most
Making them look
effective.
weak. That
It's just the
works.
most effective strategy that
Wick, I
we
think
just
that
Yeah,
would
don't
have
but
been
get
an
this
effective
debate on this.
strategy 20 years ago.
Yeah,
I
the
think
shit
our
is
political
different.
landscape is so altered. Like the MAGA the Republican Party is so far gone that it's there's
So
no
what
other
should we
way
do
to
with
there's no
them?
other
If
You
way
you
to
know the
can't
beat
secret.
them.
persuade them, what do you
You
do?
bully them.
Well, we need to look at why is it that they
They
love Trump to
understand
begin with?
one
It's
language.
because he
It's
was the
being mean.
symbol of masculinity, right? He was a symbol of strength. You know, he was epic and based and he owned the libs, right? But if Trump were to be humiliated, especially in we could say inflammatory ways that were accurate, right? That were logically consistent, but still ended up making him look weak, that I think would be an incredible way to make
Yes,
people
that's
leave Trump.
perfect. Yes.
I am
Anytime that
very
you talk to
worried
a
about
Trump supporter, why do they
2026
tell you they
now
like
again if this
Trump?
is your guys' strategy here. Just bully
Any
do you
them.
not think that's
That's
true,
not
Okay,
gonna
Wick?
we're not
work.
talking about electoralism right now. We're talking about
Yeah,
how
it's a
do we bring the
persuasion.
how do we
Persuasion. Bullying. When's the last time you were persuaded because someone bullied you?
We ain't never
Wait,
lived
you're
in
not
this
trying to
no,
bully
era.
me.
I
We've
was
never
Not
bullied
lived
trying to
in
into
this
persuade
being
this
I was
panel.
bullied
landscape.
into being a liberal. I was the only conservative, like the only
Okay.
Christian conservative at my high school, and I was bullied hardcore for it. And
So
here I am. I'm
By being
based like
ousted,
five.
yeah.
I'm based 7 years later. All right.
All I'm saying is like imagine like if we had compilation after compilation of conservative gets destroyed, conservative gets owned by, you know, epic liberal, right? I feel like that would sway so many people and it would make them essentially start to
I
challenge
agree
themselves. That's
because
what sucked so many people into the like alt-right libertarian bro pipeline.
before I
That's
really
kind of what
got
I was
into
getting into.
YouTube politics, I used to see those clips of Ben Shapiro, and I'm like, damn, like everybody's stupid. I'm like, it's Ben Shapiro, like, so he is so smart. And then once I saw past the clips, I'm like, this motherfucker don't know what he's talking about. Like, so like that shit do work, except I think we're actually on the right side of history this time. So seeing people get embarrassed like that can sway you. You don't want to be on the losing side. And I think that the right has
I want
not
to be
looked
getting
like
embarrassed.
losers optically for a while now.
And the
I think
issue is
there's
that they are
go ahead.
so organized, though. I mean, they have a lot of big money backing their creators. I mean, they're very, very organized. It's a sophisticated system that
You
they
mean
have
you mean
going
Russia,
on.
right?
Sophisticated.
Russia backing
Well,
their creators.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, but I mean,
Well,
in any case, it's very sophisticated, and they have. I mean, it's very centralized. Their messages they're all so synchronized with every single talking point, and that's very hard to kind of
Yeah.
and here
achieve
we are fucking
naturally unless
debating
we have
this. And here
backing.
we are
I
debating
know,
our
right?
messaging.
Yeah, exactly.
I've
I know.
studied Berkeley
Yeah, we need someone to tell us what
We're
to
catching
fall
say.
up.
into that
Apparently,
well-oiled
If
Catching
you
up.
guys would
machine.
just listen, we'd
I
win
think it's
every
good.
time, but you guys fight me for some reason. I don't know why. You
Oh,
should
come.
just,
Because
again,
but
get
Wick,
in
I think
line,
Wick.
fall in
we're also
line,
in a
and let
different
me
we're
win
also in
for
a
you.
different
That's all.
environment right now, though, because it's it's not business as usual at the top anymore, right? I mean, we're seeing they're cracking down on freedom of speech quite literally. I mean, they have yes men in every single cabinet position. And yeah, I think that in a normal political environment, that would backfire with the electorate. But when they are now able to control quite literally everything, it's a little worrying, and it makes me wonder
Very worrying.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a report just yesterday from Ken Klippenstein that the FBI is being recommended by the Heritage Foundations to designate every trans person as a
No,
nihilistic,
that
violent
That's
extremist. Yes.
absolutely a terrible, horrific thing that people need to be
Yes.
concerned about. We should fight against legislatively. But I don't know if, like, this is one of the reasons it's very important to have good persuasion, to have good rhetoric, because we need. Can we all agree that like 2026 is a tipping point?
Yeah.
We
Absolutely.
have
No,
to
we
Absolutely.
don't know.
win. You don't agree we have to win in
We don't.
2026?
That's not what you said. You said it's a tipping point. I don't know. I think we're already past the tipping point. I don't know. I can't see the future. A tipping point on what? That's just you're
If
posturing,
we don't
which
win
is
in
another thing in the
2026,
CIA
it'll
manual.
get much worse, is what I'm saying.
You say if we don't win, it'll get
It's
worse.
already bad
What
for
do you
some
mean
of
much
us. With
2026, things get much worse.
What do you mean by much worse?
It
that's
reinforces first of all, you got another 2 years of Trump being able to do
what
pretty much
matters, right?
whatever he wants with no congressional oversight because, again, the Republicans control the House, Republicans control the Senate, which makes it much easier for the president to push his agenda. So that's one. He's got 2 more years of that, okay? And 2, it reinforces the narrative that MAGA is winning and MAGA is popular and MAGA is a way forward, and that's
Their
gonna have
narrative does not need
ripple
facts
effects
either way.
down the line. So my advocacy and what I'm telling you right now is that 2026 is a must win year because if we win in 2026, if we take back the House and the Senate, or hell, even just one of those, suddenly we can stymie Trump's whole agenda. It becomes much, much harder for him to implement any of these bans or any of these things. We can push back legislatively against some of these executive order overreaches that he's done. We can push back legislatively against a lot of the different things he's doing. We can reopen a lot of the investigations that he's closed on these things, and we need to be able to do this. And so, again, 2026 is what I'm laser focused on this right now because it is the most important thing we need to do. Okay, we need to win.
I think
So
we
then let's be
will.
super
I
base like
I
a
agree with
Republicans and
you.
not give a fuck
Look,
about
I
who we
agree.
offend. And
No, because that's gonna make us lose. I don't
are
know
you
how you
serious?
understand this.
Go
This will
ask
make us
any
lose. We
Republican
will
that you
lose
know
if we
what they
go
like
your
about
way.
Donald
We
Trump.
will
What
lose.
is their answer? What is their
Thank you.
answer?
But we're not
Anytime
appealing
if
to
I went,
the.
the last thing that I heard a Republican that is in my family tell me that they liked about Donald Trump was that he's literally just the guy. Like he's literally, they were like, oh, he's just a bro. That's why I voted for him. I don't really know anything about politics. They're like, they're retarded. They're not, this is not like the
I'm not
intellectual
worried about
debunking, like blah, blah,
2026.
blah.
I'm not worried about it, and I don't
I'm not
think
either. I
Destiny is
think people
gonna
are going to
be.
hate what's
I don't
happening.
think Destiny is gonna be a reason people decide to not vote. People are seeing. Nobody likes what Trump is doing. Like he's pulling kids out of schools. He's taking things from people. Nobody is rocking with this. So he's digging his own grave. Like I'm not really worried about us winning 2026. Just like people felt like they weren't in a good spot when after his term with Biden, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. People feel what's happening right now. They're seeing prices go up. They're seeing their friends and families getting deported. Like people are upset, just like they went out to vote when they was upset about Biden.
Hey, I agree with you on all of those things. The only worry comes in is with all of the crackdowns that they're doing with the elections, trying to
Yeah.
rig shit in advance. I think that's very worrisome.
Yeah.
So on that front, I'd be worried. Wick, I want to ask you something though. Do you think Destiny is going to be a meaningful arbiter in making people sit home in the midterm elections?
What do you mean meaningful? Do I think he's gonna do I think hundreds and thousands of people are gonna stay home because of singularly because what
Like enough to
Destiny
make a
says or
difference?
doesn't say? No, I don't think that. But these elections, especially in states like mine, Pennsylvania, are decided with less than 20,000 votes in many cases, right? Very, very small
Sure.
margins. So even if he just turns away 5,000 people, which isn't out of the realm of possibility, considering how many millions and millions and millions of people are viewing his clips, right? That's that makes it harder for us. And again, I'm ruthless with this. I don't want to cede any ground. I want every advantage. And if that means I have to disavow bad rhetoric from Destiny to do that, fuck, I will every day of the week.
That's
Hey,
that's
hey,
fine.
Hold
Do
on,
you
Wick.
I'm
think
gonna cut. Hold
Destiny is
on,
a good?
pause. Everyone, pause. We're coming in at 2 hours. It's getting to be a bit long. I think this is a good time to start rolling into closings. All right, because now I feel like I'm listening to everyone. I've got my own thoughts. I'll share them at the end. Uh, I'm not sure if there's. I don't know. I feel like people have their positions and have heard reasonably the other side's arguments. So I'm going to go down the list, and I'm going to have everyone. I'm going to give you all. Blah. I'm going to give you all the opportunity to shout yourself out, shout out your platforms, and then give your closing arguments, your closing statements, and then yeah, we'll go through until we're done. Anne, you joined a little bit late. Would you like to shout yourself out, tell people who you are because you weren't here for openings? Then tell us what your positions are.
Sure. I go by Leftist Blondie on almost every platform. All of my information can be found in any link tree in any bio on any social media platform that I have. I am a leftist, so I have a variety of crazy views. But I think like the problem that we're running into is that we are so focused on like appeasing the right, and the right was somebody who never will be appeased. Like I will never just convince, my Republican family that they should vote for Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris is like super kind and sweet and she'll never say anything bad about anyone who's ever died. I don't think that that's going to work. I think there's obviously a difference between like political messaging from political pundits and political messaging from like the Democratic Party themselves. I think the Democratic Party probably needs to integrate with the influencer side, and they're doing that, but they're being really disorganized about it, and I think they need to start working with influencers who are a little bit more edgy, who are going to push the bar, who are going to say, we're going to push back against this. We're going to give them a hard time because these views are ridiculous and they should be shamed and they should be ostracized because that works. It works for high schoolers. It works for adults. That's what got me from being a Steven Crowder watcher to being on the relatively far left, generally speaking. So I think that's what we need to focus on. I think Steven did a fine job just condemning and moving on and being like, "Yep, okay, well, now I'm not actually going to fully condemn it until I hear Donald Trump condemn it because that's ridiculous and you shouldn't vote for somebody who won't condemn political violence." That's it.
Cool. Thank you so much, Anne. Next, Bex. Beck, would you like to shout yourself out, give your closing statements, and yeah, what are your thoughts?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, my Substack is at unaligned .sh. On Twitter, I am just Bex, and I'm hoping to start making some more content out there. Generally speaking, I think that in terms of rhetoric, we should be pretty ruthless against people like the Tim Pools, the Matt Walshes, these kinds of people. But when we're trying to reach the more normie kind of audience, I think we need to use a softer touch. That's kind of where I'm sitting. I've really loved hearing everyone's perspectives because there are a lot of things that I didn't even think of. So it's been really refreshing, and yeah, I had a lot of fun chatting with everyone. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, am I up next? You're muted, Riley, if you said me.
You muted.
Crap. Sorry, I'm getting tired. It's late in the Saturday night, so I apologize. Yes, Ethan, you're up next.
All right, thank you, thank you. So, yep, I'm officially Ethan. I'm trying to bring some form of masculinity to the left, and like I said, we seem to really be lacking that. In terms of what I think the best strategy is moving forward, something that was asked earlier is it the best idea to bully them, right? And the answer, I would say, probably, yeah, right? Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, all these people, they made their entire careers. They have made millions. They have been so influential based on doing nothing but bullying other people, making them look foolish and humiliating them. But imagine if we humiliated them. That, I feel, would pull every sense of credibility away from them. As for inflammatory rhetoric, if you have the right argument for it, then absolutely go for it and go hard on it. But if you don't, then you're going to shoot yourself in the foot, like what I think happened on Piers Morgan. But I'm officially Ethan, and that's my closing statement. Everyone here is great. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you so much, Ethan. Up next, Logics.
Yeah. So I just want to say, like, I think everybody has a different role to play. Like, the content creators can't function as the politicians we want to vote in. We all have a role to play in this environment, because if people like Benny Johnson can have a platform, I think that what Destiny doing can only be a net positive. These people just lie like it's like they breathe, and they're still able to be successful. They're still to garner people to come out and vote. So I think there's somebody that's actually rhetorically effective, knows how to debate, knows their information, it may just get unhinged at time. I think they're gonna bring in people that may not even be paying attention to what's going on just because of the energy. I don't see people just not voting because they see one person screaming. I don't think that's really how people are motivated or not motivated to vote. But yeah, my name is Logix, Logix on YouTube, on TikTok, there's Logix, Instagram, Ill2Real, ILL, the number 2, REAL.
Cool. Thank you. Yep. Thank you so much. Up next, Politiscape. Politiscape. Do you want to shout yourself out and give your final thoughts?
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm Politiscape TV on YouTube, or you can hit politiscapetv.com to hit all my other links. As far as my closing statement goes, I would say that what Destiny is doing has been effective for Destiny. I think that we do need to be mindful of where we are deploying inflammatory rhetoric. I think when it comes to our politicians, I think they have looked weak. They have looked feckless. I think adopting more of a Gavin Newsom strategy or something similar would be welcome in this particular environment. But I think as far as inflammatory rhetoric goes, as content creators, I don't see an issue with what Destiny's doing. I think he is building his own little army that he's been able to deploy to get people on the ground canvassing and things like that. I think he's been incredibly effective. And so, yeah, I think he should keep on doing what he's doing there. Like I said, politiscapetv.com. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Up next, we got She's Right.
Yeah, she's right. You can support me at she'srightshow.com. I believe that the optics are far less important than memetics and sabotage, which we see in the results. Do what works, do what doesn't work. Play the actual communication game that got someone to the White House. We don't all need the same narrative. We need narratives that work, and we need to waste less time playing to the narratives of these people who have wanted to and successfully wasted all of our time a week after the fact, instead of apologizing for and endorsing and retroactively building their narrative, instead of the truth that these radical right violent extremists must be stopped and must be held accountable for their violence and should apologize and be fired.
Thank you, thank you. And then lastly, Wick, you were, you kind of took on the heel role for this panel, so I figured it would be appropriate to have you get last. So you got the final word on it.
Okay, fair enough. And to be clear, I'm not memeing here. This is actually what I believe. This isn't a heel role. I just want to make
You're all
that.
good. And also, thank you for being like a good sport. Thank you all. Like we're all like,
You're
well-meaning.
fine.
We all want
It's
what's
all
good for
good.
the
I know.
movement. So,
Yeah, you look. Fight with me. I like fighting. Okay.
Mhm.
I agree. Let's do what works. And if I told you that there was a strategy that was effective 3 out of 4 times, okay? 3 out of 4 times that you would win if you employed this strategy, right? And if you chose the other strategy, you'd win 1 out of 4 times. Which strategy would you pick? I think that most people would pick the 3 out of 4 strategy because obviously I am going to be ruthlessly fixated on what works, not what makes me feel good, not what gets me the most attention, not what gets me the most clicks and views, but what drives people to the polling place and keeps them from trying and keeps a big separation between Democrats and Republicans. People need to see that big separation between Democrats and Republicans. And there's a reason why every single Democrat politician and influencer, other than Destiny, is doing it my way. It's because my way is the most likely to work. I love you all. Thank you for hosting. It's nice to be a panelist sometimes, not just a moderator. And even though you're all wrong, you're still pretty cool. And yeah, thanks for let me beat you up a bit. Okay, thanks.
thank you so much, Wick. Yeah, thank you all so much. And I guess just to give my 2 cents, because I've been listening to you all for a couple hours, the most interesting things that jumped out to me were, I think, 2 major points. The first, and again, these are just things I'm going to continue to think about. The reason I wanted to host this panel is because I don't have my mind fully settled on this. I think that there's an interesting distinction to explore for people between what influencers should do and what politicians should do, right? It is a lot harder for electeds to be able to go into very toxic or adversarial environments like Pierce Morgan because they have a lot more to lose. They have electeds that they could lose. They have, constituents that might vote against them. It's very concrete that they could end up having their bottom line affected if they say something inflammatory. They might get a lot of views, but they might turn a lot of people against them. Whereas there's at least a reasonable argument I think people should think about that influencers are not affected to the same degree, right? And I think that could create some interesting synergies between how influencers and politicians or electeds differ in their communication strategy. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, and this is actually, or sorry, that point actually related to something that Logic said. I made note about that because I want to bring that up, and I really like what you had to say about that. The other thing is that what it means to be effective, right? So there's growing as a social media content creator, right? For content creators, a lot of the time, if you're trying to grow conventionally, you're going to appeal to people who largely already agree with you. That's my expectation. You're probably already appealing to people who generally agree with your views and want to hear more of what you have to say. I think that's something that people should consider, is that inflammatory rhetoric is a very effective way to at least get you in front of new audiences. You got to be careful. You're playing with fire, and you can make a lot of people hate you real fast. But kind of like what you said, Blick, earlier about, what is it, contact bias, or like, how long you interact with someone?
Contact theory.
Yeah, contact theory. If I can get in front of someone enough times, and even if I'm saying stupid shit a lot, I'm thinking about like fucking CTV, right? Like, I don't agree with anything that guy has to say 99% of the time. But you know what? I see him enough and I interact with him enough that I like him, as a personal person. I'm willing to listen to him more than most other people with his kind of views. So I think that could also be applied in the inverse. Something for us to think about. Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you all later. People who are watching, visit RileyGraceRochong.com to support the stream and check out Verse and Scribble and all that sort of shit. And yeah, that's all I got. Bye, everybody.